on lunch, so I'll be brief, and I hope that I'll be able to have answer some questions if you have them, and
I'm
I know
sure.
that you
Thank
will
you so much for
moderate them
joining us.
actively.
Yeah.
But let me share screen first and just quickly move through the presentation here. Let me just make sure. Can you see the slides correctly?
Yes, we can.
Oh, that's excellent. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm going to talk a little bit about strategy and application of generative AI. And the previous speaker actually had a very good segue, right? Because at the end, he was talking about how AI can help us with cybersecurity. But that is not the only way in which AI can help us. But rather than speaking about AI generically, I'm going to speak sort of from this context of Harvard University. And I know that you all know probably that Harvard University is one of the oldest universities in the United States. But I think in the context of AI, we have made over time substantial investments in data science, but also the Kempner Institute for the Study of Natural and Artificial Intelligence. So we've been always leaning in on the AI space. But on the kind of the applied side, which is where I come in, we have been not experimenting as much, I will say. So over the years, we have had a number of kind of applications of AI within business applications, which is probably what most of you do. We had robotic process automation, etc. But generative AI was not entirely on our radar as anything more than a research project until really 2022. In 2022, all of a sudden, ChatGPT came, and it was a leapfrog for many of us in being able to start using AI and engage with it, and for many of our users to engage with it in a very new way, and in multiple modalities, text, images, audio, video, but also in modalities spanning from dedicated apps to integration into collaborative tools such as Microsoft Copilot and Google Duet that we have enabled already, and programmatic access using custom development. When we were starting to think about generative AI, and that was really in the spring of 2023, we thought about there are these wonderful opportunities related to generative AI, which is probably what all of you are facing, right? But at the same time, there are risks. So how do we balance those risks and opportunities? And we felt that we needed to provide some guidance to our community. So in June of 2023, we actually released a guidance that is online. And the guidance focused on, we want people to experiment. We give people permission to experiment. But at the same time, we want them to pay attention to 4 key risks: academic integrity, quality and accuracy of information, data privacy and security, and intellectual property. And obviously in healthcare, all academic integrity for healthcare research organizations, but all 4 apply to you as well. And data privacy and security was really the most significant issue that we felt we were facing, because all of the commercial models did not have the privacy protections that we would have hoped for. We have also, at the same time, started to think about how do we balance these harms or the risks and benefits across these 3 distinct business areas that we have. And you have similar things in healthcare, right? You have clinical care, you have back-end business operations, you have research operations. And so for us in teaching and learning, we were looking at the benefits of time-saving tasks for faculty, reduction of writing time of class plans, but in the same time, the risks of not being able to recognize individual contributions of students in administration, aided or expedited decision-making, being balanced with the risks of unexplained results, sharing of personal data, and biases that might creep into the decisions. In academic research integrity, similar to what you handle with healthcare research, there are new research opportunities. You can generate content faster. I'm sure there is a number of companies that are talking to you about taking your EMR data and loading it into a generative AI model to advise your clinicians and practitioners. But at the same time, balancing that with the issues of bias, especially for certain population, reliability, accuracy, reproducibility of outcomes, and also intellectual property that you might be potentially giving up. So these are the kind of sections that we have been thinking through and providing guidance, more specific guidance on. And as we all know, generative AI for all of us is a journey. And so one of the key things for us has been creating a process and a system with committees where we are engaging the community and being able to do that. So our strategy with generative AI has been to support experimentation and provide a way to comply with university guidance. That for us required to provide as Harvard-specific, what we called AI sandbox. So instead of telling people, get a license for ChatGPT and try it out, we have actually developed our own front end to 4 different LLMs that is protected backend, and we have made it available across Harvard. That was not only to protect our data, but also to make sure that the interface was accessible. And to be honest with you, to avoid some costs that are related to kind of the pay per user models. And also the reason why we enabled 4 different LLMs is because we were really concerned about vendor lock-in. We see this space evolving extremely quickly. And it's possible that the vendors that seem to be leading right now may not be leading a year or 2 from now. For many of you that have been around for the .com era and early internet, we all remember companies that are no longer like Netscape, right? That are no longer in leading positions. We have also pursued enterprise licensing. As I said, we have enterprise license now for OpenAI, enterprise with data protections, Microsoft Copilot, but also working with companies such as Mozilla AI. And capturing our university use cases, understanding the impact, and providing small seed grants as well as university-wide symposia to share our experiences. Where we have seen the biggest success was using APIs, actually. So not necessarily licensing kind of the embedded models or ChatGPT, but using APIs to develop custom setups. The AI sandbox is an example, but we also have experiments with tutor bots, which are special AI tutors that students are using in conjunction with class materials to ask questions and have its AI models that have been enhanced with our teaching environment and our teaching information. And again, spearheading innovation and really supporting faculty and experimentation. I'm not going to go through this, but this is the sandbox that we have put up. We have about 6,000 users. We have 12 courses using it, and it is growing all the time. We have actually made it available across Harvard for free. I think the question that we are all asking is kind of why lean into AI very deeply. And, it's risky. I mean, to be honest with you, it's risky, right? It's evolving very, very quickly. There are security-related issues, there are privacy-related issues. And I'm going to give you 2 pieces of information that I found personally incredibly compelling. The paper is referenced actually in the materials. but it's a Harvard Business School study of consultants in Boston, consultants in Boston Consulting Group, and they had three groups, I should say. One group did not use AI at all. Another group used AI, and the third group used AI with training, right? And what I want you to appreciate is that the groups that used AI had significantly higher performance and completed tasks quarter time more quickly than people who did not use AI. So, there's the old adage, people with AI are going to replace people without AI. It is not going to be that AI is going to replace people, but people using AI will replace people without AI. And this is kind of a compelling example of that actually being the case. And the compelling reason why institutions like Harvard are leaning into deployment of AI and really figuring out how we teach students how to use AI, because they need to be prepared for a world where they are competing with people that are very familiar and comfortable with using AI for daily tasks. The other graph that I haven't shown is that, but you can see it here, is that not only kind of the performance of the people with AI shifted, right? I mean, improved, but there was also this kind of narrowing of divergence in performance. So, the poor performer and the best performer all of a sudden were slightly closer together than before. Then we actually also asked, what does this look like in impacts in learning? And this is not a published study, but I just want to share it with you as informational. We had a study of about 200 randomly selected students in an introductory class. We developed a special tutor bot. So this is something we developed to help the students learn. We had two groups. One group was using the tutor bot and went to class. The other one was using best-in-class, latest active learning techniques to do experiments and go to class. And then we did it for a week, and then the second week we swapped. The thing that was incredible was that in getting grades, the group that used AI had higher grades than the group that was using the best-in-class active learning techniques. So, what used to be the standard is now being replaced, right? And the group using generative AI was also reporting greater sense of engagement. And so it is not just that we are seeing this in a workplace, but we are also seeing the impact on teaching and learning. And this is really the need of why we all need to lean in, not just in education, but also in healthcare, because it is going to allow us to drive certain level of productivity, but also potentially, because in healthcare, you're facing the issue of continuous continued education credits, continuous education. It is possible that AI can also help with education in the healthcare space. There are still ethical issues, right? So even though these results are quite compelling, these experiments raise important ethical issue. And issues of reliability, right? Because one of the issues with the tutors is that they do still hallucinate, right? So there is some risk in this area, and we are still trying to figure out kind of how we think about that risk compared to the risk of a TA giving somebody the wrong answer. So let me just close with what we learned after a year of experiments, studies, etc. is in using generative AI that might be hopefully helpful to you as you're working through integrating that in your own organizations. One was really this need to embrace culture of experimentation and failure. There are things that we tried that did not work. That's sometimes very difficult in areas, and I think healthcare is similar, where you're priding yourself on 100% accuracy and perfect results most of the time, right? You're at the top. So being okay with failure is just a organizational culture wrinkle that you need to work through. The other thing is, when we were first starting out these tutor bots, and even after months of tuning, they still, there's still an accuracy issue, as you know, because generative AI is not deterministic, it's probabilistic, right? Setting up an initial proof of concept is trivial. Any one of you, I'm guaranteeing, you could right now get an API access to any one of the LLM models, use some of the pre-built tools, and have a bot going in a week. And you don't have to even now actually be a technologist. But assuring the accuracy, making sure that when you're doing the testing, that the results are actually accurate, and that you're not getting hallucinations, and having the conversation, what number of hallucinations are you okay with? This tuning element can take months at times. And that's a very different mode of deploying technology than what we have done before. And it forces us to ask early on this question of what is the error rate? What is the ROI? It's great to experiment, but is it really, are you getting the productivity gains? So this is why we have kind of so focused on studies and outcomes, because we felt it was super important to measure them. The other learning is, and we have known this forever, but with AI, and especially when you are infusing your own AI into learning, into LLMs, the LLMs learn on your data, so data quality and availability really drive value. It's even more compelling, more important than it has ever been before. This need to embrace uncertainty and not seek certainty. Again, another culture shift. I would, caution a little bit, because oftentimes when you hear the hype from some, you would believe that in 2 years we are all going to be replaced by AI bots, and none of us will have work, and the world is coming to an end. I'm not sure, because we have seen AI impacting outcomes, but not as much as people, or the hype would lead us to believe. So we really see it as people augmenting versus fully replacing humans. And last but not least, managing the financial impacts can be challenging. So kind of having a financial strategy and really asking shrewd questions about ROI, because it's very easy to spend millions of dollars on these systems very, very quickly. So with that, thank you so much for listening to my brief remarks on generative AI. And if we have time, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Klara. Absolutely. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I've got, can you please give this gentleman a mic? Oh, Mr. Shaukat has a question.
Good morning, Klara. First of all, thank you so much for getting so early. It's 2 a.m. your time, and we would have loved to welcome you here, but unfortunately, due to visa issues, you are not here. But thank you very much.
Yeah,
for
I
this
apologize.
amazing...
I'm so disappointed that it didn't happen. I hope next time.
Yeah, thank you very much. So how do you see that from the Harvard, which is leading all these emerging tech part of it? How do you see that the collaborations with LMIC countries, so that LMIC countries can bring the context of our issues, our data, and then the diversity around us? How Harvard sees these type of partnerships? Thank you.
This is such an excellent question, because one of the and what you're really getting at is the core problem, which is that the AI models are US centric. right? I mean, that it's and they're English centric, you know. So and you know, even though you're very kind to speak English because I'm in the room, the truth of it is that that's not the native tongue, right? And so the AI models have even kind of less accuracy when you start to deal with that type of an issue. Um, through our research in our institutes, we are really interested in this set of problems. On the applied side, kind of what we do how we are applying AI, which is what I have been talking about for most of our talk, we are thinking about the multilingual element, but not necessarily about the multicultural element, which is how you reflect different cultures in the AI models, especially in the AI model answers. But we have research institutes, especially Kempner, that are very, very interested, or Latanya Sweeney, that is part of HTS, that are very interested in research in this area. So, but how will that make it into the commercial models is unclear at this time. I don't know. I'm sorry that I don't have a more satisfying answer, but I think it is universities such as Aga Khan University that can lead the conversation on how these models can be more usable or useful by countries that are not US Western culture based, which is what is right now the embedded culture within those models, because those models have been trained on primarily Western thought.
Thank you, Dr. Klara.
And I
We have
would
one.
say, Shagan, you're actually in a perfect position to raise that issue.
So we have one more question. Dr. Klara, please.
Hi, Dr. Klara. Thank you very much for a very interesting talk. My name is Azhar Nawaz. I am CIO at Anglo Corporation here in Pakistan. My question is around, the organizations like ours, we are already struggling with how to, bring data fabric into the company in terms of making sure that business is utilizing data and making data-driven decisions. And then here comes AI hype, and everyone is now running after how can we, bring AI into business. So while there are a lot of amazing models are available out there, you're talking about Copilot, your AWS has recently on the reInvent event launched the AWS Q, right? So there are so many models which work with external data, but how do, what is your advice around developing strategies of bringing these models into your company data and, leapfrogging from where we are right now and start bringing the capabilities of generative AI into, business decision making and getting those benefits?
So I have two answers. In the lessons learned slide, I had the data quality drives value, right? Which is basically what you're getting at, right? Because if you don't, you have been fighting this, all of us in the CIO roles have been fighting this fight for a while, which was we really need to have data quality in order to be able to have data-driven decision making. And you cannot have really accurate models with your data without the kind of the background of the data driven decision making. But the one thing that I have found is that when you create these initial, like this 1 week pilot, right? I said any one of you can do, and you're right with Q, it doesn't matter if you're doing it with OpenAI or Amazon Q, right? You can have a like a model, right? You can have a chatbot in a week. It actually drives the point home because you can show the data inaccuracy. You can say, especially if you configure it in such a way that it references the incorrect information that is in your data, you can actually create a virtuous feedback loop that says, yeah, the reason why the chatbot give you the wrong answer is because you have this data in this document, right, that has not been updated for 3 years. even though there's new guidance that have superseded it. So I think there is an element of using the AI to surface the data problems that you have in your overall organizational data. And we have seen that actually work when you do the tuning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Klara. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. And I really hope next time we can physically welcome you here. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.